Hello there. Good morning, every single person. Welcome to another edition of Knocks to Nuggets. It's such a joy to come your way this beautiful Monday morning. How was your weekend? I hope you rested. Mine was full of activities, but thank God everything was successful. So I was yours. Welcome to another week. It's a glorious week. And I'm so excited about today's edition of Knocks to Nuggets. So if you are joining me for the first time, thank you so much. If you've been regular here, thank you so much. And if you'll be watching after the broadcast, I truly do appreciate you. Thank you for coming on board. Thank you for joining me. Thank you for giving me the share of your time. And today I'm so excited because we are taking it further. We are talking about estate planning today. Estate planning, what is it? The first thing somebody said when I saw it was like, is it estate management? Is it about building real estate? And I had a good laugh. But trust me, we're going to talk about building real estate and other areas of businesses sometime on Knocks to Nugget. Remember, it's your one-stop shop on personal development and real life matters. Is your one-stop shop. You don't want to take your eyes off this channel. So if you're on YouTube, please subscribe. If you're not yet a subscriber on YouTube, please go there and subscribe. Knocks to Nuggets. So today I have the pleasure of having an awesome person in the house today. She's an experienced financial services executive. She's a consultant with a demonstrated practical knowledge of the financial services value chain. She holds 30 years of experience in strategic leadership, wholesale and retail banking, wealth and fiduciary management, treasury marketing, and asset management. Wow. She's an astute board member. She also currently sits on boards of social impact organizations, which enables her to deliver on her interest in female development. She is currently an executive council member of Women in Business Management and Public Service WIMBIS. She was the chairperson of Stanbic IBTC Blue Women, vice president of the Association of Corporate Trustees Nigeria, and she was voted in 2018 as one of Nigeria's most inspiring women. I'm so proud that she is my friend. She has also received various awards and recognition, the latest of which is the Most Inspiring Leaders Award in December 2020. Ooh, that is awesome. She's an independent director on the board of Access Pension Fund Custodian, a member of the Access Bank Group. She's on the advisory board of Excel Energy Systems and also a director on the board of Goldcrest Family Center and NGO. She has attended various I-League business schools for executive and leadership education, which includes Harvard, INSEAD, Wharton, Kellogg Business School, and the Yale School of Management. She's a frequent conference speaker on the topics of financial literacy and inclusion, faith, and women empowerment. Ladies and gentlemen, this beautiful morning, join me to receive on the Knocks to Nugget stage again, my friend and covenant sister, Binta Max-Gbinije. Wow. So good to have you.
Good to be here, and thank you so very much for having me. It's a huge privilege indeed, and I do not take it for granted. Thank you so much, ma'am.
Thank you so much, Auntie Bina. So today I'm really going to allow you to do a lot of talking because, when we had the series on retiring right with Fred Amobi, a lot of people began to wonder, you're talking about retiring right, and I'm like 10 years to retirement, even less than 10 years to retirement. What do I mean, how can I get this done? And he said something about estate planning. People are like, estate planning. He's not a person that has money that does estate. And the questions, the buzzes I got were so many. And right there, I said, we must have you. Have you come to educate us on estate planning? What is it? What exactly is it all about? When do I start estate planning? Am I too old to start? Am I too young to start? Must I have like 100 million stacked up somewhere to start? What exactly is estate planning? So, Bina, I'm going to really have you up on this, and I'm going to just ask you to break this down for us. So, audience, you are free to ask your questions. I'm going to keep my eyes on the chat room, so any question that comes up, we will be free to take them all. So, Binta, what exactly is estate planning all about?
Thank you once again, Auntie Yomi, and I'll try and keep it very simple. I shared some slides with you, and it'll be great to have that up. So, for those who are visually minded, they can see that and understand what we're talking about. I noted here that it's a sine qua non, and what does that mean? That it's an essential condition. That's what the definition of sine qua non is, a thing that is absolutely necessary. Because, friends, the unexpected happens, and that's the truth of the matter. Accidents, misfortunes, natural disasters. And last year, 2020, was a wonderful year for the world. We were left literally gasping for breath when the COVID-19 pandemic hit the world, a black swan event that nobody saw coming. Well, maybe Bill Gates, because apparently he had talked about it some years before then. But if no one saw this coming, not with the severity and the alarming consequences, that it left behind, but it hit the world. So these things happen and can happen to anyone, anywhere around the world. So since we cannot tell when such incidents will happen, wisdom dictates that we make plans for such
Mm,
occurrences or such eventualities because they will come. It's a fact of life. That we will also go all the way of the earth one day when all of us must leave this earth. It's also a fact of life. I'm sure you'll agree with me, Auntie Yomi.
yes, ma'am.
Okay?
Yes, so
So
true.
it's only then makes sense for us to have a plan, okay?
Mm,
To leave behind a legacy, to be able to transfer whatever assets we will have gathered while we were on earth properly and seamlessly to the next generation. Okay,
mm,
you asked me when can one start? Short answer to that, like the Chinese said, the best time to plant a tree was 20 years ago. The next best time is today. And like we also say in Nigerian pidgin parlance, na the day where you wake up be your morning. So if you
true.
didn't start before now, you can start today. Do you have to have loads of assets before you can do this, before you can put an estate plan in place? The answer is no. So this
Wow.
phone, my phone, it is my property. I have to reserve the right to choose who to give it to when I'm no longer here. Even if I don't
Mm,
want to give it to anybody and I want to give it to the orphanage that I'm a part of, I reserve that right to do so. But if you don't put an estate plan in place, you won't get the chance for your wishes to be achieved.
mm,
Because, and when we go further in the discussion, I'll tell you about the fact that if you die interstate without leaving a will in place, for instance, saying, this is what I want my assets to be done, who it should go to, when and how, and in what ratio, guess what? Do you know that the government can choose where your assets will go to?
wow.
So Governor Sanwo-Olu of Lagos can choose and say, if there's no spouse to come forward, if there's no, family member that I think ought to take whatever this wonderful woman has left behind, let me give it to an executor. And who
Wow.
you and I guess how that might end up. An executor might allocate it to himself or dash it, as we say in Nigerian parlance, to one person or the other. But when you have put an estate plan in place, you safeguard against that. You're very clear in your directive. If it's a will, if it's a trust, whatever legal document you've left behind, this is exactly how I want my assets to be distributed, to be administered, and these are who my beneficiaries are. At this
Mm,
time, I also quickly tell us, okay, that a beneficiary is very different from a next of kin. So when you typically have this conversation, someone says, oh, I put my next of kin in my details. Ladies and gentlemen, you need to update those details on a regular. But guess what?
wow.
It is not the same as being a beneficiary. Okay?
Mm,
So let's take pension, for instance. The Pension Reform Act is very clear, okay, about who gets what. And it says that only a validly administered will can state who the beneficiaries are and they will get whatever it is that you've stated there. But a next of kin is actually only for information and contact purposes. So in the event of an accident or something happens, they need to reach someone. That's who a next of kin is. But a beneficiary is that person who I have chosen to give something to. It is my property. I have chosen who to give it to. I like this slide, and I'd just like for us to look at it very quickly. Gregory Roberts wrote the book Shantaram, and he has a very colorful history. You can look him up later. I love what he says. If we can't respect the way we earn it, money has no value. If we
mm,
can't use it to make life better for our family and loved ones, money has no purpose. So
wow.
people talk about phases of life, and they talk about summer, winter, autumn, twilight. But I like this slide because it just shows how people really earn money. So from age 0 to like 20, 21, the expectation is that you're in school and you're earning a degree and getting set to live life, right? But from
Yeah.
age 20 to 25, you're in your accumulating years. That's when you start a job or you start a business. You make money. You earn money to buy assets. You're in that accumulating stage where you're buying assets and you're growing your net worth. In the 45 to 65 years, that's your years of consolidation. A lot of people make investments, they buy property, and they grow that portfolio, that stock. The years after 60, in Nigeria, we know retirement age is 60 or 35 years of active service if you're in the public service, and it differs whether you're in academia and. But generally at 60, it's deemed that you should be retiring, even if you don't, even if you keep firing, right? So those are your decumulating years. And Fred Amobi did an excellent job. I learned so much from his 2 sessions with you. Thank you, Pastor Yomi, for always adding value. But in that retirement stage, everything you've gathered, what are you doing with it? Okay. But then the years after you've gathered all of this, when you then go, who should it go to if you still have a lot to give? And that's the intergenerational wealth transfer. And that's why it's key for you to get that piece right. Okay. So if we move very quickly, I know we're pressed for time and there's only so much we can do today. You asked me earlier on, what is estate planning? Wikipedia gives you a clear definition, okay? The process of anticipating and arranging during the person's life for the management and disposal of that person's estate after the person is gone. I just say in simple terms, it's making necessary arrangements, like I stated earlier on. It is my own. This is my phone. It is my iPhone. I want to give it to whoever I want to give it to. And to do that and ensure that that person gets it when I'm gone, then I must put that plan in place. That's what estate planning is. It may
Mm.
sound impressive or bourgeois, but that's the truth. Simply all that you own, all that you have. And you mentioned it earlier on, landed properties, vehicles, bank accounts, investments, insurance, furniture, even jewelry, my lovely pearls, okay? Whatever it is, and other items of value that you own that you want to transfer to whoever you want to give it to. Let me add a caveat though that you must own it. Okay. The
Mm.
lawyer says nemo dot quod non habet. You cannot give what you don't have. So if you don't
Mm.
have the title and if it's not yours in your name, paid full price for, and that you own outright and clear, then you don't have the right to give it to somebody else. Nemo dot quod non habet. You cannot give what you don't have. So bear that in mind. Before you did something to someone, you must own it. You must know that it is yours. You have that local standard, the right to be able to give it to another person. What are the benefits of estate planning? Very quickly, like we've mentioned, you give it to who you want to give it to, because if you do not leave and put an estate plan in place, either via a will, a trust, or whatever, the government can choose to give whoever they want to give it to. And I'm sure you won't want to have worked 20, 30 years, Island Lagos traffic for you who are in Lagos. You have sweated, you get home at 11 p.m. and then what you worked for will not go to who you want to give it to. Child, some people will turn in their graves if that should
Mm.
happen, and you won't want that to happen. To negate that situation, put an estate plan in place. Because when you're gone without an estate plan, and while all of this is happening, no one can touch your assets. No one can do anything. So you'll have a spouse, you'll have children who will be suffering and who won't be able to have access to what you've left behind. And I have many cases I can give you examples of. So it's important to put that plan in place. Why is it important also to put an estate plan in place or to have an estate plan? It saves time and money. Obtaining a letter of administration when someone does not leave a will or has put a trust in place before they pass on can take years, and I mean years, Auntie Yomi. It can be 7, it can be 5, it can be 10 in some instances. But even
Wow.
more painful, I'm sure you know of some important and rich families whose
Yeah.
patriarchs have passed on, who left assets behind, and where the family have been squabbling
True.
for years over
True.
this asset. They're in
True.
court, they're tied up and all. Some of them have even died without enjoying all of these assets the person has left behind. But if great grandpa had done the prudent thing and put a plan in place saying this person gets this, the property here, the property there, the money here, distributes it. Amount is 12 children, the 12 houses, all neatly done. Everyone takes their own and goes. Then there won't be the squabbles. You save time and money. Another thing it does is avoids big taxes. Okay, when you do that, you're able to save on the taxes that they will pay. Inheritance and debt tax, they differ from country to country, even in Nigeria from state to state. In Nigeria, generally, the good news is that it's about 10% across board, because when a person dies and transfers an inheritance to the people he's left behind, that before they can access all of that, there's a payment they must make to the government. In Lagos State, where you reside, Auntie Yome, is 10% that you must pay to the government. In other states in the federation, in Nigeria, it's just about 10. But guess what? In the UK, it's 40%. So for the sake of argument, if the asset was worth £100, you know, Her Majesty the Queen will take £40 out of the £100. Yes. In France, it goes up to 55. Okay. South Africa, closer to home, is about 25. In Ghana, it's about, so it differs from country to country. But this tells you that is a lot. But when you have an estate plan in place, you're able to save a whole lot more, so that the people you're even leaving the assets for will be able to get a lot more. And you will have saved more because you worked hard for it. Okay. You eliminate family disputes. I've talked about that. I won't go. Your estate will not go to unintended beneficiaries. Very key as well. You ensure standard of life is maintained for your children. And I like that estate planning protects children, particularly for those who have younger children. When you have children who are called minors, because by law, a child only becomes an adult when they turn 18. So if that is so, if their parent passes on before they turn 18, they can't access those assets. So what happens? Who takes care of it for them? I can tell you stories that will make your fingers curl about uncles or extended family members who have frittered away, the what should have been the bequests that have been left to these children, because they were not the right people. But if a plan had been put in place ab initio at the very beginning, the right person who is prudent, who truly will love your children like you will and look out for their best interest, would have been selected before you left, and they will take up that responsibility. And you can rest in your grave after you're gone, because their children are well taken care of. Let me quickly add at this point. People say, oh, if I write a will or if I put an estate plan in place, it means I'm calling for death. It means I'm getting ready to go. But that is so not true. In fact, there's empirical evidence in the UK that people who write their wills actually live longer. So that's a good reason for you to even write your will, so that you can ensure you will live longer. So it's not a morbid thing for you to put it in place. You're just being prudent, you're being responsible, and it's the right thing to do, particularly for children. So for their education and for health, if for nothing else, it's important to look at that. There's so many other things that that's a benefit of estate planning. A spouse remarries, rather than it going to some spouse who has come just for the money. If you had put a plan in place, who gets what, when, and how, you're able to prevent any nefarious objectives that any other person might have. Very important as well. You have peace of mind. And estate planning is not only for when you're gone. So for the trust, for instance, there's a living trust. So while you're around, you can be a beneficiary of that trust. You can say, I'm busy working, I work with Trend, I don't have the time to be looking after my numerous assets. You put it in a trust, in the hands and care of a trust advisor or lawyer who is capable, and they're handling all of that for you. But you want to be, say, you can even say every quarter, give me 5 million for that, for my personal upkeep. So while you are alive, you can also be a beneficiary. So that's the thing about a trust. You can have a living trust, or it can be a testamentary trust. A testamentary trust only kicks in after you're gone. And that's the thing about a will as well. A will is testamentary. It's only after the person is gone that it is read and the instructions acted on. But with a trust, you can be a part of it even while you're alive, to see how it will work, to know what you will change or not change before you're gone. So it's a very useful vehicle. Let me talk quickly about intervivals and joint ownership. I assume we're almost out of time. I probably can't go through all of this today. But the intervivors is another tool for estate planning. And that just simply means giving a gift to somebody while you're here. So, Auntie Yomi, I love you to the moon and back. You're my sister of life, my covenant sister. And I don't want to wait until I'm gone to give you whatever it is. So I can give it to you while I'm here. It might be that property in Banana Island. I thought you will say amen to that.
Amen.
So I will just deed it to you. It's an intervivor's gift. I'm not going to wait until I'm gone before you get it, okay? While with joint ownership, the beauty of joint ownership is Auntie Yomi and I have everything in ownership. So we open the account together. It is Reverend Oluwa Yomi Ute and Binta Max-Gbinije. We have joint ownership. The accounts are there. You can execute. I can. So in the case of a husband and wife, for instance, if the person passes on suddenly, she doesn't have to wait to go through probate to be able to access what's in the account because it's joint ownership. But if that wasn't the case, she will have to go through probate. She will be days when there will be no soup in the house because no plan was in place, and I could go on and on. But I reckon we're out of time now, so I think I've done more than the 10 minutes you wanted me to speak, but I can always take questions and elucidate as we go along.
Wow, wow, wow. Thank you so, so much. That was a mouthful. Indeed, a seminar for free. Thank you so much. We truly do appreciate you. Thank you for breaking it down. But we will come back next week to take questions that would come up. But I have one question to give you before you go.
Okay, ma'am. Shoot.
How much money do I need to have to put a plan in place?
Very good question. Not a lot. Everything you have now that is yours is part of the plan. And it doesn't have to be about money, it could be other assets, it doesn't have to be monetary. But everything that you own that is yours, again, remember you must have title to it. You don't need a lot of money. It's not an estate plan is not for rich people, it's for everyone. As long as you have an asset that you can give, and I'm using my phone again as an example, it is mine. It costs something, no matter how little. It has a resale value and it can be beneficial to someone, then you can give it. The only person who cannot put an estate plan in place is if you're below 18. So if you're not an adult yet, you can't do that. There's also when you are a seaman, because they are exposed to such grave dangers, there's also a clause about what they can and they can't do. But any other person who's above 18 and has any asset whatsoever, you can put an estate plan in place. There are trust companies who have simplified it for you. You can even put a will in place for as low as 5,000, but that's a simple will. So you see, it's not a great deal of money. However, if you want a comprehensive will, like the word connotes comprehensive, which will take care of all your assets and all, of course, it will cost a bit more. Some other trust practitioners will also charge you on the value of your total estate. So if you have 1 billion, and you may say amen again,
Amen,
they might
amen, amen.
do 1% of that 1 billion. So you can see that that's it. But everything you have, short answer to the question, you don't need a great deal of money. You only need to have assets that you own, that are yours, and that have a value. And with that, you can put an estate plan in place for as low as 5,000.
Wow. As long as you own it, as long as it's your own, you can put a plan in place. Thank you so much. And Binta, you're going to indulge me. We're going to come back next week, Monday, because I know that in people's hearts are questions that are going on. Estate planning. What do I need to do? There's this question I will take before we sign up this morning, and it's saying, what happens if you cannot afford to pay the 10% to access a will left on your behalf? What happens?
Very good question. And what some people do, of course, is engage with the probate registry officials. And then, so sometimes they will then process. It's one of two things. You can either go and borrow the money because you know what's coming out of it. And then when you then processed it and everything has come to you, you pay that back. But that it must be paid is not negotiable. Okay. Or where you have, some states where they're very what's the word now, when they're very lenient or very compassionate, you could then have the agreement that they would go ahead and process, and then back out that which is due to the government before you now take everything that is yours. So it's either of these two options. But yes, leaving it totally undone is not acceptable. So you must find a way to access what has
Mm.
been left to you.
You must find a way to access what has been left for you. One beautiful thing about estate plan that I hear in all that you have said is that there are no controversies when you are gone. I know of, and like you rightly said, it's not a sign up for death. I know someone who wrote his will at 44, and when he was writing the will, a lot of things he had when he died, he didn't even have them. But I had written a clause there and said every other thing I have after now, this should be what will happen to them. And when he died about 30 something years later, about 30 years later, when he passed on, they just moved on with the things that he wrote. And that was just interesting. So you don't need to have all the monies in the world. The truth about it is that when you begin to plan, actually, you begin to attract money.
Absolutely.
Money
Yeah.
comes to those who plan for it. The moment you
Absolutely.
put a plan in place, you will discover that your savings begins to grow, your investments begin to grow, and the entire equation just changes. We're going to come back next week, still on estate planning with Binta Max-Gbinije, as we look at other things that we need to know about these areas. So if you have your questions, please send them to me by email, by WhatsApp, as a comment on this post. I'll be glad to push them all to Binta and she'll be happy to answer you. Plan attracts money. Thank you so much, Gilbert. That is so apt. Plan attracts money. And that is so, so true.
Yeah.
Emeka says, Will writing, aka make it no cost fight. Let your money not cost fight when you are gone. Let the peace that you have enjoyed continue after you are long gone. So that is it today on Knox to Nuggets. Thank you again, Binta, for being here, and we'll be
Thank
glad to have
you.
you next week, Monday. Thank you
Also,
so much.
thank you.
So
Have a wonderful.
thank you. So, ladies and gentlemen, that was Binta Max-Gbinije on estate planning. Oh, you didn't miss. Please, it's up on YouTube, it's up on Facebook. You can watch again and again, even after now. And we're going to be taking questions next week. So please send in your questions. And on Knox to Nuggets, we're going to be looking at various opportunities to make money. Somebody says, estate planning, when I don't get money to chop yet. We're going to be looking at opportunities to make money. There's so many opportunities around us. You can start from nothing and you can build a massive investment from nothing, as long as you have the right mindset, as long as you are ready to work, as long as you are willing to pay the price. We'll be bringing entrepreneurs on this show who will talk to us on how they started and what you can do to start. So stay glued, invite your friends, like this video, share it, pass your comment, send in your questions, because next week, Monday, estate planning continues with Binta Max-Gbinije. And until next week, Monday, thank you so much for being here. Like I always will tell you, I love you, and together we win. God bless you. See you next week, Monday. Remember, invite your friends. God bless you.